I say we just dive into it because that's what we do around here.
Yeah.
Yes, Mami Collective is back, another episode. And, you know, I obviously started this platform because I am one tired-ass, busy-ass mom. And that's exactly who I want to speak to and exactly who I wanted on the podcast. So for me, I'm really excited to introduce my guest. She is on the go. She is a busy mom, busy entrepreneur, busy Latina, mujer, everything. You are just busy, and you made time to come see me in Chicago. So I want to introduce Sonia Alejandra Saunders. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great, and I just am happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, and of course, I had to come in person. So
I love it. No, I was really happy because, like, I'm an in-person kind of girl.
Yeah.
But I understand life happens, things happen. But I knew you were in Chicago this weekend because, really quick, coach, speaker, and founder of Mujer Movement. You are having your event this weekend in Chicago. So if you hear this after this weekend, it happened already. So go to her Instagram. I'm sure she'll have like a whole recap of everything that went down. But you're in town. So I was like, hopefully she can stop in, you know. Yes. I love virtual, but I love in person more.
And you know what? Being here is so surreal just because bringing the event to Chicago. And I know this is going to sound weird, but I was like, who do I think I am? Just like bringing Mujer Movement to an entire different city. And I mean, even these opportunities, I just wanted to share that because sometimes those thoughts come up, you know, and
for sure.
I just,
that's honest.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, you are Sonia. I mean, you are you are just a badass. Like, you're fearless. You also have a podcast that that's how I think I discovered you through the podcast. I was looking for just like, I'm an inspirational kind of girl. Like, I just like to be inspired. I like when people who look like me, who talk like me, who think like me, create content. And I was looking for that. And I want to say it was last year that I found it. And I was like, listening every episode. I have you saved. I don't have a lot of podcasts saved because I'm really picky. I'm like, the ones that I have, whatever, I'm like, they're the ones I need to like pop up when there's a new episode because I'm really like, I'm weird. I'm like, it has to be ones that I like.
Same. Yeah.
Same, right? I'm
but
like,
thank you. I feel honored to be on the list.
Yes, you're on my list. And I was like, okay, you know what? If she's in town and I saw that you were, I was like, hopefully she can come in. So first things first, I would love for you. And I kind of know the story based on like your podcast and I've heard your story and I think it's so inspirational. Can you kind of give us a little bit of background about yourself and obviously Mujer Movement?
Yeah, well, I think sitting here is full circle moment for me because I dreamt of being in the media since I was, you know, a teenager. Yeah. And one of my biggest dreams was like to be on network for Univision, Telemundo, those kind of programs. It's what I watched as a little girl. I think now when people kind of reference like classic American stuff, I'm like, no, I was watching novelas. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Because my parents, that's what was around. And with that, I feel like that was my big dream. Like, I really wanted to be able to land a TV job and just represent like our generation and growing up in a Mexican traditional household. So back when I was 19, I decided to participate in Nuestra Belleza Latina. And if you don't know what that is, it's pretty much like a reality TV show / beauty pageant for Latinas. And if you won, you got a contract with Univision, which is one of the largest Hispanic TV stations here in the U.S. So I was like, that's it. I'm going to shoot my shot. And I went and auditioned. But the experience was kind of bittersweet for me. I got a lot of comments about my physical, like how I looked and my weight. And one of the biggest things was, if you want to be successful in this industry, you need to lose weight. So that was like the first time that I was ever kind of feeling unworthy of being able to step into the dream, the goal that I had.
Yeah.
And at 19, you know, coming from a very loving family that always like me echaban porras, they always cheered for me. Yeah. It was kind of hard for me to kind of grasp it, but I was so driven and so determined to go into that competition that I lost the weight in like the time frame that they gave me from the audition to when you travel to Miami and like start the competition. And through that experience, I feel like it was the first time that I really stepped into self-discovery and really wanting to find out who I really was rather than like what I looked like. I think up until that point, I had really allowed the opinions of others to really define how I was going to show up in the world. And through this experience, there was one particular conversation that it stuck with me. And it was with one of the other contestants. We were just chatting about, who do you think they're going to pick? You know, so-and-so and this and that. And I remember her saying, well, they're not going to pick a mujerón. They're not going to pick a mujerón to win. And I knew at that point she was like kind of describing me, because I was already la gordita del grupo, right? Like the one that was, you know, not in the best shape. So that
it's
word,
like subtle shade, if you will. God, I hate that.
Yeah, it was
for a
like
lot of reasons. I just hate
subtle shade, and I felt like at that moment I just really kind of shut off, and I was like, I'm ready to go home. You know, I'm done. Like I felt like I didn't belong. I just felt like I was out of place, and I think I began to compare myself a lot with the other contestants. And again, at that age, I just wasn't introduced to self-development and all of the amazing tools that help us, right? Know that our worth goes beyond what we look like. So a lot of those little comments, whether it was directly to me or just she was saying it, you know, just in the conversation, it really, really hurt me because I hadn't really done that work. Right. And the things that people were saying about me in the audition and in that space, it just really got to me, where it started to dim my light. I started to dim my own light. I remember the cameras coming around and I would just kind of hide. Like I didn't want to be interviewed. I didn't want to be out there because I was just afraid and embarrassed of what I would look like, you know. And so that kind of happened. I go back home. And I just remember being like, I know that I can still get to my goal, whether it's me going to school and knocking on doors or, you know, just some type of other opportunity. So that's kind of what I did. I went back to Phoenix and I graduated from ASU. I started knocking on doors and I landed a local job at a small station at that time. And I was kind of like just in everything, from production to on camera to sales, the marketing, the promotions, all of the things. And I learned so much through that. So 2018 comes around and the station wasn't doing that great at that time. So they shut it down. One day to the next, they're like, you're out of a job.
Oh my God.
And now I'm like, okay, what am I going to do next? And around that time, with all the women's movements, Nuestra Belleza Latina comes back. But this time they changed their whole theme. They are open to everyone. It doesn't matter how you look, how old you are, if you're a mom. Like that was something that always kind of made it stand out, because they allowed women that had children, for example. But this time they were just opening it up in general. And I felt like, I don't know if you've ever felt this, where you're like, wow, this is it. Like this is the thing that I've been working so hard for. You know, the opportunity comes back. And it was almost as if I was going to close that cycle, that circle that, you know, I was often wondering, like, what if I would have lost more weight? What if I would have shown up differently? What if I could have just ignored all the comments, right? So here I go back and I just remember feeling like there's a bigger reason why I need to be here. So that word mujerón comes up again for me, and I just remember feeling like I need to represent her, you know, that 19-year-old me that was told you need to lose weight to be successful, and like coming back to show that I can. You know, I've worked hard and I've prepared myself. I've worked on TV. I've kind of like worked on my speech, all of the things. And I decided to make a shirt that said mujerón. So here I go back and I end up getting casted again. And when I got eliminated that time, I felt like there was just something more powerful, and I just knew I wasn't going to let that experience just shut me down, or that I guess sometimes we can say obstacles, right? The fact that they said no, I knew I had this shirt that said mujerón and it was just going to mean something bigger. So when I went back home this time, I started to create little meetups where I would just kind of chat with women, and they turn into workshops. Then they turn into events. And then eventually they turn into a community that is now national. And this is kind of like our big annual events that we have now. This is our 3rd year.
Wow.
And the podcast is also something that we do. We have a coaching program where we help women kind of own their mujer story and like really step into who they're meant to be. And all of this coming from, you know, a space that really made me feel like I wasn't worthy enough. And now I help women kind of overcome that as well.
I know. I love that. I mean, I hate that that happened, right? I guess I was kind of told something similarly when I was like getting into radio, which is interesting because there's no TV, you know, this is also like really before social media popped off like that. But I was told like, you know, something that's important in this is you have to lose weight. And it wasn't directed towards me. It was just kind of like told like in some like thing. I don't know. I had like this mentor chick, right? And she would do these email blasts and that kind of was in there. And I was like, girl, you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like, I don't know, unless you're my doctor, I don't know if that's really for you to say that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I hate that was told to you at age 19, you know, and that being in that space, you know, being young, being vulnerable, being hungry, being determined of like, I'm trying to, you know, make something right here and be like what I want to be. It sucks. And I hate that. So first things first, I absolutely hate that happened, but I love how you rose above it. And that you sort of turned this, if you will, a word that was meant to hurt you, right, or used to offend, kind of into a positive. You built it into, I don't even know what to call it, like almost like a movement. Well, obviously a movement, but like an empire of yours. You know, being able to help other women is so cool. So I love that about you.
Thank you. And you know, I just want to say, like, it just for anyone that's listening and they might be in that not so great space, like it's a journey to overcome it. It's been a journey, and even through motherhood for me, it's healed so many of the things that I carried because of the comments, right? So I just wanted to put that out there because sometimes things can look very beautiful on social media, and it's a journey for sure.
For sure. Did you feel like you had to work through it, like, I don't know, in a way where, because I go to therapy, right? So is that something that like you kind of pursued, or did you work through it in other ways?
I think starting this movement is what helped me the most to heal, because there were so many times where I just had to be vulnerable and talk about the story. And I think sometimes when we build brands and businesses based on our story, we often have to go back to what didn't really made us feel so great. So a lot of times when I would talk about it, it was like tears, and just, I feel that that's when I started noticing that I was slowly healing, because I was able to talk about it without, you know, getting super emotional. But absolutely, I think coaching has been one of the biggest things that has changed my life, like myself seeking life coaching, therapy, of course. It's something that I have monthly now, because it's there's so much, and we continue to grow and new things come up, right? And as we evolve as humans, there's going to be new obstacles that come up, and it's just like an ongoing thing, working on ourselves. So I feel like starting this movement is really what made me unpack and go deep into, okay, what are the things that I want to heal and I need to face in order for me to step into the next level me.
For sure. When did you sort of feel the calling, right, to help other women? Like, was there one instance where somebody was like, I want to be like you, girl? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen you, I've watched your story, I've seen you persevere, I've seen you grow. Or was it just something that you thought of, like, you know what? Like, I think this is the next step for me.
You know, I think because when I first started this, it wasn't as if I was a mentor yet. I doubted myself a lot in that first, like, piece of me building this and stepping into as a mentor. I think it took me a while, a lot of mindset work for me to be able to own that I can help women through a transformation. And I think for me, it was when I started to see women come to my events and see the change. Even if it was just a small event, I had women say, hey, I want to start my own thing. And I thought that was so cool, because it's this calling that they felt because they stepped into it and they were able to see someone doing something similar to what they wanted to bring to life. So I think when I started to see women get in these spaces and be inspired, not just by me, but the other ladies that were attending, it was like, okay, we're on to something now. That now I felt more prepared and able to help women start their own thing, right? And for me, it might look like this community, this movement, but for other women, it looked like a business, a side hustle. Maybe they wanted to show up on social media differently. Maybe they just wanted to take care of themselves a little bit more, just do the inner work. Whatever it looked like for them, it started to kind of become a ripple effect of them being in this space. And I feel like that's when I felt the calling of, okay, I think I want to really make this more official and step into coaching and mentorship and help women. So now through the coaching program, we've had some incredible transformations. I want to share one really briefly. And actually, this is, I want to share two. So one from just the event last year. We had someone attend the event and get so inspired to take action that she started her own candle business. So it hasn't even been a year, and she's now sponsoring candles for our goodie bags because she was inspired to start this from attending the event.
That's awesome.
So even just that, I was like, that is so wild. Like, it never gets old for me because I think that sometimes we know what we want to do. We just need the space to allow us to dream big. And if I can create that for people, that to me, I don't care if I'm not making any money off of this. Like, I think we just need more of that, right? Because could you imagine if everybody was just living in their purpose? The world would just be so thriving.
Everybody would be like, yes, it would be a place to be. It would be a time.
I think like that to me is just like, woo, like that is why I do this. And then another story from someone that actually went through our container, our Mujer on University program, is someone that came to our event, and she is now helping women take control of their finances. She's a CPA, so she like really wanted to hone in on her skills and her genius, right, which is numbers. Like, she loves numbers. I'm not great at it, so, you know, we all need someone that knows they're just living in their genius. So now she helps women take control of their finances, and she's like hosting speaking engagements with other communities, and just seeing women come into our program with just feeling like they want more out of their life and leaving with clarity on exactly what they want to do. That to me is also just so powerful.
100%. What do you think stops us, right, as women, Latinas, or just, you know, just people? But what stops us from showing up as like the greatest version of ourselves, or stops us from doing that thing? Whether it's like you said, you're the girl who attended your event, right, and she is now sponsoring with the candles. What would be the reason that, you know, she didn't pursue that, or the person who's listening who wants to start a podcast? And like, what stops us?
Yeah, I think it's a few things, but it all comes down to what we saw as children or what we were told when we were kids, right? Maybe sometimes it's that you didn't ever see someone doing big things in your, you know, proximity wise, right? In your family, maybe around you. You just were never exposed to that, especially exposed people that look like you, talk like you, right? And then I think it's also all of those things that we see when we're kids or we're told that we then start to believe. So I think a lot of it is self-belief. And it's just, what relationship do you have with yourself? How do you talk to yourself every day? Because all of those little things have so much to do with your self-belief. So I feel like self-trust, self-confidence, all of that comes from you really showing up for yourself. And all of the external things, absolutely, they have something to do with it. But at the end of the day, we have it within us to really make whatever it is that we want come true.
No, I 100% agree. I'm not going to lie. I used to suffer from that a lot. I think I'm doing a little better. But even showing up on social media for me was hard. I don't know why. Well, actually, I'm not going to lie. I know why. I feel like even though I will walk around this earth and I'll shout from, you know, the rooftops and say, like, I don't care what people think about me. I don't care. I kind of think I care because I will be so afraid sometimes to post on social if my outfit doesn't look right or my hair is off and like I've had a baby, so I've gained weight. I am just afraid of negativity. I'm afraid of, as stupid as it sounds, just like people saying something which they won't as much as I think they will. I don't like it's not as common, but I just feel like I'm afraid of what people will think too.
Right.
I think that's a big one. What people think.
It's a huge one, and I feel like it's so ingrained in our culture that
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, you know, the comments, the tías, the qué van a decir, and all of the things. So I think that because it's so ingrained in us, it's something that we have to unlearn that is going to take a long time, right? And I think if anyone else is resonating with this, because I absolutely, that's something I resonate with a lot as well. Mm-hmm. I want you to give yourself grace because you're actually trying to protect yourself. Like your subconscious is just trying to protect you of the things that, you know, you don't want to get hurt. So a lot of times you're overly like overthinking or just, you know, nitpicking at things because you don't want others to say this, but you're just trying to protect yourself. And the more that you just work on it on like, hey, you're good. Show up, you know, without the makeup or with the baby weight that we carry now. Like, it's okay. We show up, and sometimes it's really the things that we think about ourselves and not what people are actually thinking of us. But truly, we're just trying to protect ourselves. So give ourselves grace for it. I think that it's definitely work. I don't think that ever completely goes away because, again, like there's new things that resurface, or especially when we're doing the work and we're doing therapy, other things come up. But I think the more that we're able to just hold that beautiful space of, hey, we're just beings that are constantly growing, it allows us to make mistakes and look a crazy mess sometimes, right? Because that's what we are. We're human.
No, that's real. Yeah, I struggle with that a little bit. And I think my big thing always was like, if I start this podcast, which like I'm not new to podcasting. I've actually had a podcast prior to this, and this is the rebrand I'm calling it because I'm a mom now. But before it was a podcast about millennials, just that I thought were like, you know, doing really cool things. And then I was like, well, I'm going to rebrand it or whatever. And then I created this. But I think one of my biggest like fears was just like the whole like, who does she think she is thing. And I hate that because like I know who I am and I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? But I feel like a lot of women struggle with that, you know, and I hate that we give people so much power.
I agree because I think that if we could take that out of the equation, who would we be?
Unstoppable.
How would we show up?
It would be wild.
And it's so unfair for us to put all that pressure because we literally only get one shot at this. Like we only get to be our higher self one time. And if we continue to carry this idea of like, who do we think we are, right? Even I like so vulnerably just said it right in the beginning when I was planning this event. I'm like, who do I think? Like it just comes up when we're trying to do big things. But I think that's another thing too. How awesome that we get to say that because that means we're stepping out of our comfort zone. There's people that never even do that, you know? So I think if anything, if that comes up, I think we're doing great because we're shooting big. And we should, as we should, right? Because we only get one shot.
100%. No, you're not wrong. And I feel like, you know, you got to take the opportunities when they come at you. Yeah. That's just, it is what it is. And I love that you've created kind of your own opportunities as well. And so talk about as well as your event, right? It's an annual event. I think by the time this comes out, it will be have happened already, but it is annual. It is a huge event that you've moved to Chicago in 2024. Why Chicago? I wanted to know that.
So I think Chicago always was a city that, first of all, I love. The first time I was here, I remember just feeling like a calling to this city. It was before I moved to Milwaukee. And I just felt like the Midwest had something for me. But I think one of the biggest things for me was just creating this for Midwest Latinas because I hadn't really seen a lot of this type of event. And like there's a lot of beautiful Latina community here doing incredible things. So I just kind of wanted to bring this to a city that was already celebrating Latinas and had such a beautiful community of Latinas. So in 2023, I did a collaboration event. It was, a smaller kind of thing, and it went so well. I met so many incredible women here that I'm like, okay, I think the next year we're going to do it somewhere else. And 2023, 80% of the women that attended our event in Arizona were from other cities. And there was a few Midwest women that had traveled. So I think that between that, the community that I had already kind of connected with, and just Chicago in general is such a beautiful city, I really wanted to step out of my own comfort zone and bring this to Chicago.
I want to pause you for a second. I don't know if your phone had went out, so I want to let you know if you wanted to restart it, just in case if you wanted content.
Thank you.
No, of course. I just saw it go black, and I'm like, oh no. Oh, my mother-in-law. Oh.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Sorry, 1 second. I'll take this out. Don't worry.
No.
So she should be hungry. Okay, that was my bad. I did not tell her anything about that. Okay, love it. Okay, back to us. 3, 2, 1. And I love that you picked Chicago because, well, it's my city. So I personally am a fan of that. I really quickly wanted to dive into branding with you. So I've heard you speak on this topic, and I think you're such a good just kind of point of, contact when it comes to this because you do it. You've done it. When it comes to like branding, right? I hear the biggest thing is sort of, kind of like, who is your audience? Who are you speaking to? And I think my mistake, I've done this too, a lot of people do, is like, we want to be and speak to everybody because, I don't know, because it's just a woman in us. We want to be liked and want everyone to gravitate towards us. I don't know. But with your brand in particular, right, like you're speaking to like Latinas, right, in particular. I mean, you speak to everybody, but Latinas resonate a lot with you. Was that intentionally done because that's who you wanted to serve or who you wanted to, like connect with?
I think it was kind of both. Especially at the beginning, I was definitely playing around with who is this for. Coming from Spanish TV, a lot of my content was in Spanish in the beginning. So I actually tried to do my events in Spanish at first. But then I started seeing who was showing up. So a lot of times I feel like the best way to also just solidify who you're talking to is who's resonating with it. And that's kind of what I started to see. First gen Latinas, 25 to like 45, 50 were the ones showing up to the events.
Okay.
So I knew that's like, okay, that's who's really resonating with the topics, the conversations, just like the overall brand. And I think that really helped me to hone in on, okay, first generation Latinas who, if they came to the US, they grew up here, and or they're daughters of immigrants.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, but I think definitely like take some time. I don't think it's something that you learn or right off the bat, especially if you're pivoting in your brand or you're starting something new. Definitely take some time to learn who your audience is. And a lot of times, like doing the polls on Instagram to know like what do they like, sending if you have an email list, starting an email list, starting to send out just some surveys and things like that to get to know your brand. And obviously the in-person events, right? I'm super biased on that, but doing in-person experiences really also help you connect with who's vibing with you and like who's showing up, who are you talking to, do they own a business? That's actually one thing that at the beginning I didn't push Latina owned business. Like it wasn't specifically for Latina business owners, but that's who actually started to show up the most. Women who, wanted to start a business or had a business, wanted to scale their business. They wanted connections within business. And that's how slowly it started to take a shift to be a little bit more business and branding focused, where now our event has a session in the event that specifically is for Latina-owned businesses. And we get into topics of like, what does it take to scale a business? what does it take to scale a brand? What works for you? And having just Latinas with different businesses, not just online, really helps us to see that a lot of it is the same kind of thing. So I would definitely say to play around with it and like have some patience, because it is some work that you kind of have to do.
I love that advice. I think that's so important because a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this too, I'll have an idea and I just want to run with it. And my best friend,
we all do.
Right?
You're not alone.
I'm like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever. Let's do it. My best friend's always like, slow down. We got to figure out a lot of things here before you start yapping. And I'm like, I know, but I'm just excited about it. But I love that.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing, I will say, because a lot of times we get stuck on the, well, what if this, what if that, or the planning phase. So some of us do need to just take action before we know what the heck we're doing. So it's not a bad thing, but I definitely will say, like, go with it and do your research, right? Like, pay attention to your audience, pay attention to who's showing up, who's interacting with your posts, what do they do, what do they like, who do they follow, right? And then you get to know your audience a little bit more.
Absolutely. And I wanted to dive into another very important topic, very important to you, I know as well. But, you're a mom. And I love that. And that's why I do this, because I'm new here. That's what I tell people. I'm like, I'm new here. You have a son who is 3 years old. And I don't know how you're doing all of this, but you've been doing it. And I want to say, if I'm correct from your story, that you, I think, launched before he was born, or he was about to be born. Is that true?
Yeah, so I actually started to monetize my brand while I was pregnant.
Wow.
So I found out I was pregnant and I was doing my first launch for the program, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to do it. Like, I'm pregnant. I don't know what that's going to be like. And I do have to say, a lot of it is my support system. My husband, number one, is just, he has been so supportive in the journey of creating this.
Nice.
I don't think I would be able to do it without him. So him, my parents, they, like, for example, they drove out from Phoenix driving our displays for the event tomorrow. So
wow.
Yeah, my sisters just flew in today. They're helping me with all the setup, volunteering, and all of that. So it takes a village. Like, I truly would not be able to do this without my circle and the women, right, that are showing up as well. So I think that really leaning onto your circle and asking for help, because I think that's one thing we struggle with a lot, just being open for people to help us out in whatever it is that we need. And that, I think, is something that I have to remind myself a lot of.
Yeah.
But yeah, motherhood has been quite the ride for me. It has not been easy, but I would not trade it for the world. Like, anytime I'm feeling overwhelmed, I can just hug my son and feel just like back to, okay, this makes a lot of sense, why we put ourselves through, because our kids are watching. Yes. And if we're not fulfilled, then we are not going to be able to be the best moms.
100%. That's personally a big reason why I still continue to do everything and more after I got pregnant and after I had my baby, because I said, I want her to have the best version of me. And I know what makes me happy and what makes me feel fulfilled. You know what I mean? And it's truly this. And that's why this podcast specifically, and what I'm doing is, like, I just want to create, like, I don't know if it's a village, a network, just something for moms, but in particular the moms who, like, I don't know what to call them. I said working moms, but like moms who are business owners, entrepreneurs, right? Or the 9-to-5 mom, because that's also a crazy lifestyle. It's hard. I mean, anything is hard, whether you're staying at home, whether you're at work, it's all hard. Being a mom is hard, period. So I'm just like, how can we support each other? What can we do in these moments? Because there have been a lot, and you just said it too. You're like, hasn't been easy. And I'm sure you have, your moments, and you're just like, wow, I'm overwhelmed. Wow, this is a lot. Wow, should I even continue doing this?
Yes.
So many questions. It's like, but you persevere, you get through it. And I think, our kids are such a big motivation, and like, especially like they're a big driving force of, behind everything.
Absolutely. I think my child really opened up this different side of me that really wanted to just be the best that I could be.
I love it.
Because I definitely don't want to pass down, right, traumas and like insecurities and things. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I've sought therapy, and my husband as well, because it just opens up something else for you. But I think it's so cool that we get to do this, and our moms didn't even have these type of conversations, right? So yeah. I think that's probably been the biggest thing with motherhood as well, is not only does it allow me to become and step into who, you know, I want to be for my son, but it also has given me so much grace for my mom and how hard it was for her and what she went through with us, right? So it allows you to just see them in a different way and just hold space for them and not be so frustrated with them sometimes.
Yes.
Because they went through so much too.
I feel like if our moms had the support that we had and the community like that you've built, and I'm sure that you've been surrounded by, had they had that, then, you know, it could have been a different experience for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Imagine where we would be. That would be wild.
Crazy, right? Like where we would be is where our kids will probably be. You know what I mean? And it's just like creating, like you said, and holding space for our moms, you know, and those before us, right? Caregivers. Like, I think I took it for granted, at least when I was a kid. Like, I didn't know any better. You know what I mean? Like looking at your mom, like you just think of your mom as your mom. Like, you don't know her prior to being a mom. Like, your mom was a whole ass person before you.
With 4 kids in my case.
Right. And your mom had 4, you know, and it's like, I'm sure for her, like, she probably went in the closet and cried several times and you didn't even know it. They were so strong. That is a strength I am so open. I do not have. And I know that I'm strong, but I don't know if I'm that strong. Right. Our mom's strong. You know what I mean? Like, that is something else. That's like a whole nother level. So shout out to our moms and those before us.
Shout out to our moms.
They really did pave the way so that we can be this version of ourselves.
My mom is actually downstairs watching my child while I do this.
Wait, why? You should have brought them up. Oh my God. Oh my God. You should have brought them up here. How cute would that be? Oh, we could add your mom on. Oh, shout out to your mom. She's here with you.
Yes.
So sweet. I love it. So what are you doing as a mom? And you mentioned this earlier in our conversation about, you know, kind of what you struggled with, which was the self-confidence, right? And you were like, I, you know, didn't like really have that, right? And I struggle with it to this day too sometimes, I will be honest. What are you doing as a mom to make sure that your son is raised with confidence, right? To know that he can do anything he wants to do and all that stuff. Like, what are you doing as a mom?
I think for me, the number one thing, and I identified this with myself, right? So I think that we have to really look within to like, what is the thing that we really want to step into that maybe we've been ignoring or we've been playing small in. And for me, it was always my health. Like, I always feel like I seeked the gym or diets, right? Because I wanted to look a certain way. But as a mom now, I'm like, no, I just want to feel good for him.
Yes.
I want to have the energy for him. I want to feel like I can carry him and I don't feel like I can't end the day, right? Or I can't wait to end the day. So I think for me, it's been really committing to that part of my life and just how can I work on the things that I really want to be better at, whether it's habits, right? Taking care of my health, like I said. So I think for me, it's definitely filling up my cup before I have to show up as a mom. So that for me has been such a therapy of going to the gym first thing in the morning before he wakes up. And I know I'm one of the lucky ones, right? That my husband can stay with him in the morning and I can knock that out, come home and just feel like, okay, I'm ready to tackle this. So I think definitely look for what that is for you. Maybe it's like just having a cup of coffee by yourself before you have to do that, or reflecting before you have to step into motherhood. Or I know we're on 24/7, but really when we start to do like the tasks of the day, I think for me, connecting with myself through moving my body has been the number one thing that has really allowed me to be in a better place mentally.
Yeah, I love that. And that's something that I'm trying to implement too. And I've been saying this with like my weight loss journey. I'm down like 9 pounds. So
there
yay.
You go.
I know
it's a celebration.
Thank you. I'm like, it's the little things, but like they mean so much to me because honestly it was kind of hard to even get here. But I feel better already. And I'm like, okay, like, I know we're going on the right path. And my biggest thing is like, I just want to be healthy for her. I want to feel great for her because like she'll be like running and all that in the next couple of years. I'm like, I got to chase after this little kid. But I want to be able to do that and feel good and like obviously like, you know, be able to play with her and all these things. And it's like, I can't, and true story, I can't be going up the stairs and be tired because that's me now, you know? So I'm like, I don't want to feel like that. I think health is so important and we do sometimes take it for granted, you know? At least I did.
Yeah, and it's really the little things. Like even just if it's 10, 15 minutes of us in the day before we have to step into it. And it's the analogy of like filling your cup up, right?
Yeah.
How do you fill up your cup before you start to pour onto others?
Mm-hmm.
And again, everybody looks different, but there's a specific tool that I created for my clients and myself, which is called the GAME framework. So it stands for gratitude, action, mindfulness, and exercise.
Wow.
So if you take those 4 steps, even if you just do one of them before you step into like something that you're doing that's really hard or takes a lot of effort or you're just not feeling the best at, it'll help you kind of just clear your mind. Whether you just take a moment to say 3 things that I'm grateful for, or take a moment to really get clear about, okay, what are 3 things I can take action on today? Or you do some meditation, journaling, some mindfulness, just connect with yourself. Or you move your body with exercise, right? Whether, like I said, 15-minute walk, 10-minute walk, just doing something that will really connect you back to yourself is like that, all right, it's game on kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And what about for you in work-life balance? How do you manage that?
I feel like balance is definitely an illusion for sure.
I don't disagree. 100%.
Because I will say like right now that I'm just a day away from the event, for example, it's really hard to balance all of the things. Like I know my business is going to take priority right now because I have to really step into this event. But I know that after and, you know, the following weeks, it'll be a little bit slower in my business after this event, and especially with just the hours that I need to put in. So now I know that my life, like my personal life, will take priority again. So I feel like giving yourself grace when you're in the work of the whole thing of, okay, maybe my personal life is going to take the front seat and my business the back seat. And that's okay, right? Being okay with that. But I think definitely systems help. Like having systems in place is something that I'm really deep into right now, whether it's like at home or in my business, because I think that when we're able to find what that is for us and it works for us when we don't have to be there, that really helps us just kind of take control. So, but yeah, I would say it's a process.
You nailed it, though. I think also just saying that, you know, what works for you. I think a lot of times we compare or we feel like, oh, but, you know, my friend is doing this. And it's like, okay, but does that work for you? No. Then why are we doing that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have to stop comparing and shaming ourselves or others as moms, you know. But I love that you said that because at the end of the day, kind of is an illusion. Like, yes, like, can I balance, like, you know, getting emails done and like making dinner? Probably. But I'm talking about like the bigger stuff, right? Like you have a whole event that you had to focus on and giving that your all in that moment. But that doesn't mean that you're lacking anywhere in the mom department. It's just not as much or it's not as like the focus is just shifted a little bit.
Yeah. And I'll give like a quick example. We haven't really done like activities or gone to the park for this last 2 weeks, right? Because I'm like all hands on deck with the event.
Totally.
Where I know as soon as I'm like over that hump, all right, let's go to the park, let's do activities, right? Like really full on mom mode again. And I think I think the biggest thing is how do we allow ourselves to be in that present moment? Because so easily can we be like, I'm a horrible mom because I haven't taken him to the park or I haven't done this, right? I think that's when we really struggle. So just kind of letting go of the expectations and stepping into what is it that right now is priority.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And what about, you know, giving one piece of advice, right, to a new mom, somebody who might be kind of on the same path as you, right? They're an entrepreneur, right? Or they're doing a lot of things and they're creating a brand. But they're a new mom and they're scared. What's something you would tell them?
Yeah, I would say, again, going back to what we were talking about, you only get one shot. and you are the main character of this story.
Period.
So please don't let yourself get to a point where you are thinking back, what if I would have actually done what I wanted to do? Your child will see you thrive and step into it and grow, and maybe you'll make mistakes, but hey, at least you tried. They will always be there for you and cheering you on, but you are a priority here. And it's really hard for us to really grasp that because we've been taught as well to, you're a mom, like you come second now, right? Your child is your main thing. And I think for me, unlearning that was so hard because, I mean, I still get the comments here and there, right? From like our past generations, like our moms, our tias of, but you're a mom now, right? So I think that a lot of times that's the number one thing for me. It has been, I want to make sure that I'm taking care of me so that I can take care of my son. So if you're scared, you're not alone. Like we were all scared, right? Of like juggling motherhood and the dreams and aspirations that we have. But I promise you, you won't regret it.
Oh, that's beautiful advice. I love it. I hope any new mom or just any mom, period, is listening to this and feeling good, feeling inspired, and feeling like, you know, you're not alone and it's okay. It's completely okay. And I love your advice. And what about for the future of just, you know, for Sonia, but the future of Mujer movement? And are you ever, or would you ever get back into media, TV, radio?
Yeah, I think I've been saying this, and I don't know if it's like a thing now because I'm going to say it here as well, but I would really love to create a show where we get to have these type of conversations like worldwide with Latinas, right? Like just going to different places and meeting Latinas doing incredible things in the world. So I would love to go back into media. I think for me, that's something that I've always kind of had at the back of my mind. I think definitely my brand has taken the front seat right now, and I have a feeling like this will take me there. But I just want to continue to impact lives and create collaboration and these spaces where women get to heal and dream big and connect with other women. I think for me, it's really about just getting to more women. So even these opportunities, I'm so grateful for because now, who knows, right? Like someone that didn't know about me will now know about Mujer movement.
I love it.
And I think for me, that's the main thing is how can I just get to more women so that we can continue to create these spaces.
Absolutely. And where can we follow you to keep up with you? Obviously, everything that you're doing. Where can we plug?
Yes. So I like to hang out mainly on Instagram. You can follow us at Mujer Movement or me at the Sonia Alejandra. Mujeron.com. You'll also get all the info about all the things that we're doing. I'm now on Threads. Like I don't know if you've tried Threads out.
No, there's
like
so many things. Okay, we like it.
I love Threads because it doesn't take so much effort. Like I just literally type what I'm thinking, and it's been a cool vibe in there where people are just super raw and vulnerable. So I'm enjoying that.
Nice.
But yeah, I would say Instagram, join our email list through themujeron.com. I would love to have you on there. And yeah, those are the spaces where you can find us. Oh, and the podcast, of course. Mujeron podcast on Spotify or Apple.
Yes, and I'm going to make sure I link everything here too so people could just easily click. That's what I do. I love to just look and click.
Yes.
I like it. Well, thank you for being here with us today. We appreciate you. Congrats on your event here in Chicago. And maybe next year I'll be there. Maybe it'll be me in attendance. We'll see where it's going to be at though. But it's in Chicago for sure. Yes. But I would still, I'll take a trip. I'm not going to lie. I like to travel. So
and you know what? That's why I like to do like this moving because a lot of women are coming to Chicago for the first time.
Yeah.
Or, they're just taking a girls trip and I love that. Yeah.
Oh, so cool.
But we would love to have you. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.